Are in another podcast with DCAA Solutions,
Woo,
and
woo.
today we've got Mark Mynatt doing it again.
How are you,
Uh,
Nolan? What are we
I'm doing.
talking about today?
Oh man, I'm doing great. We want to get down to the point, nitty gritty here. We
Okay.
want to know why DCAA is should be the choice system for our pharmaceutical partners. And
Yeah.
the reason being is the efficiency, the compliance. You know better than me, but those are kind of the topics that we are going to go over today and blast out. The other one, if we've got time, we'll go into is e-pedigree, and why e-pedigree is specifically designed for pharmaceutical distributors. La di da di da. So, Mark, why don't we have you take it away? And we can't forget to talk about the 2024 DSCSA requirements.
Oh, very good. So the question that you have is why e-pedigree? Why is that the solution for brokerage-based pharmaceutical distributors? Is that kind of the question?
Yeah, I don't know that it's my question because I know why. So I think that it's information that we need to blast and get out there.
Yeah.
So these pharmaceutical distributors, uh, so we can help them. Really, it's about helping them.
Yeah. So here is the net. It is because it is a true single source solution based on the latest technology. And what I learned early on in my career providing software is you wanted to stop the finger pointing. And anytime you start putting together, I wouldn't even call what's called best of breed. So, best of breed is where I work with multiple vendors to try to bring in a single solution. And the complexity of brokerage based pharmaceutical distribution is massively complex. It doesn't seem like it is, but if I were to drill down on the entire process from ordering to receiving to shipping, we're talking about serial based lot expiry items. And you've got to be able to, the more volume you get, the more automated you get. So you
Well,
can't just receive that, you got to scan it in.
let me interrupt you
So,
there for a sec.
yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
while we're at it, why don't you break that down? Why don't you keep it basic and simple? And what actually does make this a single source solution?
The fact that it's one database across the entire system is a single source. And what that means from your ordering and CRM and financials, your shipping, receiving, those are the what I would call the big rocks. But with DSCSA, there's a whole nother layer of big rocks. So you've got to be able to receive these XML files called EPCIS. We decided to call EPCIS files EPCIS files, and those have to be received over encrypted AS2 connections. So now we have EDI, it's encrypted, and where it gets complicated is right there. That's the big rock. So before you can even play, you've got to have up this EDI set up. In 95% of all cases, everybody's working with a separate EDI solution. And we're not even talking about the total cost of ownership of trying to manage what I call fragmented systems. Somebody might call these best of breed. Best of breed is where I work with an EDI vendor. Then I have my warehouse vendor, then my finance. That's what a lot of other ERP systems are. So without spending 20 minutes on it, I grew up in single source solutions because it was one phone call. There's no finger pointing. There's no blame. We take 100% responsibility. And that includes the scanning, the receiving, the encryption, the certificates, and the list goes on and on and on. I mean, to the business owner, here's the net. To the business owner that is interested in growing their operation, they do not want to be spending time adding to these different functional areas because it's expensive. This is all about EBITDA. and what where we fit is with the private owner that wants to grow his company. If you're a private owner and you're satisfied with your growth and where you're at, you do not need our system, because our system is going to take you 3 to 4 months to get into it, and then we break you up into business process owners, and it's for transparency and accountability. We're for the group of people that are looking to really exit at some point in time and exit at 10x EBITDA. Those are the customers that are a great fit.
So you said it there, the business process owners.
Yeah,
I know you've got a business process vault. Is that a system inside of this? Can you explain that a little bit now that
yeah,
we've kind of dove into that?
yeah. So everything I just said in the previous 2 or 3 minutes is all about accountability and visibility. Traditional ERP implementations, management, what people typically do is that they send emails and they don't keep a list of who's responsible for what. And so what happens, nobody owns anything in the what I would call the traditional ERP management ownership and implementation. We have a product called BPV. So again, this is for that private owner that wants to grow. People are responsible for core processes, and the visibility of those processes are extremely visible because everybody knows who the business process owner is. This is what we call the cultural transformation. There's the digital transformation, which I think is 25% of the equation. The digital transformation is that we're .NET. We've got a single source database. We're a hyperscaler. It's this cultural transformation. And I use the term boots on the ground. Who owns the process? I am responsible for the process, and that person owns it. Without that ownership, you get a bunch of users running around going, I don't know. I don't know who owns it. They don't take responsibility for it. And so, in order to grow, you've got to have that ownership. And in order to cut cost out of the process, you've got to have a single person who is the leader of that process. This is the cultural transformation. And I get pretty excited, maybe more hyped up about this, because if we don't do this, you're not going to succeed. You will fumble along, and there's tons of stories of fumbling.
Sure. And especially with those new 2024 DSCSA requirements.
Yeah. So let's talk about those for a second.
Let's do it.
When we talk about single source solution, the whole reason for DSCSA is integrity in the healthcare supply chain. And what that means is that we know that we are receiving, selling, shipping pharmaceuticals, and we know the complete lifespan of that code of that product. We know that it was received from one vendor to the other, and we know the integrity because it's by serial number. The DSCSA is there to keep people safe because there have been bad actors that have infiltrated the supply chain with fake drugs, and the results of that are obvious. Our
Sure.
bodies are a chemical reaction. Put the wrong chemical reaction in, and you're going to have a horrible outcome.
Sure.
DSCSA is designed to keep the integrity of these drug supply chain in check. And so when we look at, I'll give you one good example on why single source is so important. When we receive a drug, FedEx shows up at the dock, an APCAS file gets received in the traditional or not in the fragmented environment. That APCAS file is typically received by a third party, and so now you have a third party that's receiving the APCAS file, and then you've received the actual pharmaceuticals in your warehouse. Well, how do you check that what you have received in the EPCAS file has actually been received? Well, that means these two fragmented systems have to talk together. And when you start doing, 5, 6 line items, not a big deal. When you're dealing with 500 line items, when you receive, you want to be able to verify before you receive into your warehouse. And so there's got to be that real time check. Well, think about it, 600 line items is going to be checking what's called G10 serial numbers, etc. That's some pretty serious processing power.
Sure.
And so, as a single source solution, because we're in one environment, that happens at that specific point. And that's one aspect of why single source is so important.
You mean that's one aspect of what ePedigree is doing?
Exactly.
Got
It's
it.
managing all these different components. You guys did a really good video on data. I did an analogy how data is a cube.
Sure.
So, multiple cubes. When you are working with multiple systems,
Sure.
those are multiple cubes that you're trying to look at once.
Yep.
Well, with ePedigree, it's one cube of data. So
Yep.
it's just checking on the data that's in the same cube.
So does ePedigree include the EPKIS database?
It does. Great question. And maybe I
Oh,
should have said that.
yeah.
So, in ePedigree is the APGUS database. Yes,
Which that's pretty rare.
it's
Do you know
extremely rare.
of any other companies out there doing that?
I do not know of any other companies
Huh.
out there doing that.
That's
And I think
interesting.
when we did a white paper, industry was like, "Oh, there's no way that's possible." That's and a lot of the doubters were third party trackers. That's I know if
I
that
think
was
hold on, I think we lost you there for a sec. You were talking about when you did a third party something.
so third party. So our competitors don't like it. I know if someone did what I was doing, I would be like, "Dang."
Sure.
They just kind of cut me off at the knees. That's
Sure.
kind of where I was going with that. But I didn't do it to try to be, cut them off at the knees. I did it because of what I said in the beginning about EBITDA cost,
Sure.
single source, one phone call.
Well, and you're helping these pharmaceutical companies continue to thrive and stay efficient in their business processes.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. I mean, I really summed it up well when we want the private ownership interested in growing that understands the value of 10x EBITDA.
I got you.
Okay, so that means I'll rephrase it. It's
It
for the company that is interested in really increasing the value of their company. And I said
absolutely.
it earlier, if you're not interested in growth, stay with these fragmented systems. They do work. You're just putting your cost per business process is much, much more, probably 2 to 3 times more. So what that means is that you have to hire a bunch more people to do the same revenue. So one of our clients started out at I'll make this number up, but the numbers are accurate. The ratios are accurate at $200,000 a month, and now they're doing 5 million, and they've had to add 10% people. In a
Sure.
fragment environment, you would have to add, you would have to add. If you started at 10 and you're in fragmented, you'd have to add 30, for example.
Got it.
It's your labor cost. It's your overhead.
Sure. 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 Well, awesome. We covered a lot there, and that was pretty good. Is there
Mhm.
anything else you want to talk about in retrospect to, let's say you've got a pharmaceutical company, they're thinking about, wanting to transition into a new ERP, or they're running all these fragmented systems and they've been doing it for a long time, but they're
Yeah,
hesitant, especially now, they're hesitant with this DSCSA. How can you alleviate the transition headaches
love
uh,
this question.
for them?
Love it. So we can I I hate saying I because there's a group of people behind me that help me do these things. BPV, Business Process Vault, been doing this 30 years. Worked with some very famous people, whether it's Tesla or other people. And your question's fantastic because the risk of trying to make a switch is huge. It's real. Well, Business Process Vault is manages the entire life cycle of the relationship from pre-sales to sales the initial kickoff meeting to go live to upgrades. Here's how we eliminate that risk is that when we're doing a demo, we will demo these business processes. Remember, we're not trying to be all things to all people. We are absolute experts in this area. So I can show you all 300 business processes. Here's the key thing. When we're in a sales cycle and you're looking at our software, we're looking at the order to cash process. And when we do the kickoff meeting, if we're lucky enough to earn the business, is that you're looking at the same order to cash process that we just showed you. And where people get lost in this is that there are truly 200-300 processes. They don't know what they're buying half the time. And with our BPV, business process vault, you understand the entire life cycle. And that's what it's designed for. Plus, we're not using email for communications. We're using all the task items in BPV and case management. It's 100% visible. Where are we? I get a lot of questions during even a sales cycle or implementation, or the traditional sales cycle uses a Gantt chart. Okay, so in week 5 we're going to be here, and then we're going to do the data conversion, and everybody's going, well, who's on what? What's on second? And with BPV, because we're by business process, you log in, you see what's green is good. Green means it's been tested and there was a test proof and the business process owner signed off on it. This isn't some user going, yeah, I tested it. So you know where you are at. You can look at, I have 80% of the processes tested. I have these business process owners that have tested it. And oh, by the way, I have a business process owner that has not tested. You know, in the traditional ERP, you don't know that. And then they start using email as the communication, and they'll say, hey, where are we? And be like, I didn't get that email. Well, you're on that email. And we eliminate all those. And that's that cultural transformation. And
Sure.
what I just said is absolutely critical to success.
Absolutely. Well, there we have it. I think we covered a sure heck of a lot of information in a quality amount of time. Is there anything else that you'd like to get out there for any
Yes.
interested owners or anybody that's curious about a transition or maybe just wanting to get some more information?
Yeah, I think that the the success path and reduction is through this business process vault. And people that are not interested in that transparency probably get tired of me saying that, but it is 100% transparency on who owns what and where you're at. And that can be for a company that is, I want to use the word fluffy on discipline. That's going to be trouble because there's
Yeah.
going to be
And
people
there's
that are exposed.
well,
And
and there's
so
certainly a large amount of those that are operating.
there is. I mean, I can point to a tremendous amount of different implementations over 30 years that show that that would be. I want to just harp on that a little bit because um, it will expose what's happening in the company, and there are companies that don't want that.
Sure. But then there are the companies that, are disciplined and eat
Those
healthy and lift weights regularly and uh they are want growth.
Yeah,
They,
those are
they
your
want
high
growth.
flyers. There's a reason why they're increasing in revenue year over year.
Sure.
Um, so that's kind of the net is that BPV is the safeguard, but it also can expose people. And during this cultural transformation, because it's a cultural transformation, there is shifts in responsibilities. There are people that step up that you didn't think would ever step up, and it's a fascinating. But on the other side of the coin, meaning the company side, it exposes people, and that scares the hell out of everybody.
But that's good.
It can be. It depends. It depends on your mindset. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're an entrepreneur that's not afraid of failing, that it's the long term, then you dig in and you solve problems. But if you're a fear-based cultural environment, it won't work either way.
No, but I mean, if you're if you've got a company doing that, they're comfortable where they're at, anyways.
True, and that's why I said earlier, don't don't call us
Yeah,
because we're interested in the growth oriented company.
absolutely,
This is a partnership. Thank you,
absolutely.
Nolan, for those are some great talking points.
Awesome. Well, we're right at 20 minutes. I don't think we need to go any further than that. Um, did you guys have a good weekend?
Yeah, great weekend.
I heard you guys were in Key West.
I cannot tell you how much I love Key West. Key West is Ernest Hemingway writing his books and riding bikes in 90% humidity. It's just a different vibe.
Yeah, pretty
But
nice.
coming back from it, I call it re-entry.
Yeah,
I work all the time because I love what I do, but I'm definitely sitting here going, okay, kind of missed my bike riding around
sure.
and doing that, but absolutely, I had a great weekend. How about yourself?
Yeah, yep. Same with us.
Yeah, very
So,
good. Did you want to
awesome.
chat about anything else?
What's that?
Did you want to chitter chat about anything else?
Am I in trouble? Is there something
No, I
that
don't think so.
no,
I
I'm
think
just
you're
kidding.
good.
I'm just kidding.
No, I
No,
like your
I
sweatshirt too.
do you? Oh, I know. I know.
Maybe we should throw out some sweatshirts to some people that respond to the podcast. Like maybe
Sure.
we could ask a secret question to see if they really
Yeah, there
listen
you
to the
go.
whole
Yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah. Yeah, some free giveaways. There we go.
Yeah.
We'll have to do some new style. These are like Rocky Balboa training style
Okay.
sweatshirts
Hey, I'm open to any suggestion.
and some new hats.
I know I love that hat. That's the insignia of the 173rd Airborne.
Yep, sure is.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah, thanks. Well,
You-
we'll close it out on that. Again,
All
thank
right.
you, everyone, the owner and operator, the wizard and mastermind of DCAA, Mark Mynatt. Thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you. Good. I enjoyed it.
Right on.
All right.
Have a good day.
Okay, you too. Bye bye. Okay, good. I was pretty fired up because I've been thinking about this, and I'm a little bit pissed off about, the lack of BPV use and how people are, they're like, I don't want to do that. It's like, are you? I'm very passionate about it. Oh, good, awesome. I'm gonna go hit CrossFit because it energized me, and it's probably the I can hear well and you can hear me well, and that works really really well. I love it. I love these mics. Awesome. I really want to hammer. If you ain't interested in growing, don't call me. If because that's what it takes. And there's 80% of these folks have no fucking clue what this takes, and it's a true partnership. It's a bitch. I'm gonna head to CrossFit. I'm itching my face. Love you, man. Peace.